without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you guys our guest, and that is the one, the only, Herman Moore.
Shout out.
What up?
What's going on, Her? Welcome back. Appreciate you joining us. And
Always.
I just want to get right into it. You know, this Lions team coming off of an extremely good win over the Denver Broncos. Like, is this the Lions team we should be expecting for the rest of the year going forward? Is this the offense we should expect out of the Lions going forward?
I don't know if it's the offense we need to have. If this is a team that's going to not only win the NFC North division, but then get into the postseason play and look for a win, they have to bring that kind of explosiveness. They're going to have to bring that type of adjustments they did defensively to where it's not a lull. There's not this gap of time before the adjustments are made. They're made right then and there within a play or two. Offensively, they're in attack mode, and I love that fact. Even when they got up, in points, they kept attacking the Broncos defense. Kudos to the offensive line and the fact that they were able to hold it down, and then the Lions committed to the running game. And just the fact that they were able to pass the football and not worry about the turnovers that they've had in the past few games, it wasn't too much of a concern. So you got to play that type of lights out football down this part of the stretch. Anyone who's seen this, and I've been around this league not only as a player, but watching it for quite some time, when you get into December and that back end of November, right after, we always talk about after Thanksgiving, that's when you get into the championship games of the season, and teams that are really out there making something happen and are playing at high levels are doing it during that time in December, because that's going to determine not only if you get into the playoffs, but if you win a division, but also where are you going to stack up in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I have another question too, because I'm kind of young, man. I really get to see Barry like everybody else, and I don't really have too. It's one thing to watch highlights. I feel like it's one thing to watch it live, where you just like scratching your head, like what the hell did I just watch? Jahmyr Gibbs, like watching like some of those runs he had. I'm not calling him Barry by any means, but like, is there similarities there? Because like that one, I think it was like for 30 yards, it looked like he was shooting an and one commercial. He was just dribbling bodies off the freaking turf, throwing guys stiff arm and dodging out of bounds. It was like I was watching a Jackie Chan fight scene. It was insane.
You know what? There aren't really many comparisons that you can do with him other than they're impactful players when their team needs them. When I look at Jahmyr Gibbs, he has a different style of running than Barry. Anyone that's seen Barry, not just in the highlights, but definitely as a teammate, it's going to be hard to find someone who has his style of running and just the way he balances over his feet when he makes a cut. But if you look at Jahmyr Gibbs and you look at when he goes to make a cut or a break, I love what I call that gather step. And that is him just really making sure he has a good center of gravity. He's able to make really quick turns and cuts in small spaces with these chop steps. And that gives him the momentum to then explode out of it before the defenders are ready. And because he's using that as a technique, it's allowing him to really outmaneuver a lot of these guys at such an early part of his career. But we saw that in college. If you look at his highlight films, he's running like he ran in college, but he's now doing it at another level here in the NFL. And, doing it for the Detroit Lions and combining that with David Montgomery is a dynamic combination in the backfield that the defense never gets to play off.
And staying with these weapons, these playmakers on the Lions offense, our guy Jameson Williams finally got some love, finally got a couple targets, and he made the most out of it. We saw that move he had on the sidelines to freeze the defender and get the first down. But what I was most impressed with was his last catch that he had, where he was on the other sidelines, full hands catch, full extension, a man draped all over him. He comes down kind of awkwardly, but still brings the ball in. How much confidence does that put in Jared Goff, seeing Jameson Williams make that kind of catch? When at the beginning of the year, you had people saying, oh, he can't catch, he drops too much. And then you see him make an amazing all-hands catch like that. Does that inspire confidence in him from this offense?
If you go back and look at his early plays, the confidence in his ability to catch the ball in his hands is growing play by play, not game by game, play by play. The more you're targeting him, the more opportunities he's getting. That's what's taking place. Does that mean he's gonna catch every single pass going forward? No, but it means that his level of confidence and dependability as a player will be there when needed. It develops confidence in your quarterback. The quarterback's going to be looking at him and not feeling like if I target this player, I'm really going to my second best option or my third best option, if that. He's looking at it as a player that can make plays. And that's the confidence I think we'll start to see Jared Goff develop with him. And I even said this, in my rookie year, it wasn't that I was questioning my abilities as a player. It was the more I got involved and the more the coaches showed confidence in putting me back into the game and letting me just really learn, I really took off. And for me, it happened in the playoff game against the Dallas Cowboys, where I caught my first touchdown. But after that, the rest was history. And I don't think there was any more questioning what my ability was. And I think with Jameson, that's what you're going to see. I think that's starting to develop right now. I just like the fact that I'm seeing a young player who's very talented not have that escape him and go away because he started to question his ability or worry about what was being said about him on the outside.
I keep it, again, one more thing about Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, a buddy asked me last night, we were watching the Seattle Seahawks game, which amazing game, by the way. That was a hell of a comeback by those guys, helping us pave the way for the number 2 seed. Is it crazy to say that Jahmyr is entering the top 15, top 10 conversation when it comes to, like, the running backs? Like, because he asked me, because he's a Ravens fan, he's like, how many other running backs would you rather have than Jahmyr Gibbs? And I was like, well, he's on a rookie deal, he's young, he has the most 20-yard runs in the league right now. I was like, there really aren't that many guys I'd rather take over him right now. Am I crazy, or is this kid like that good?
He's good. So let's dial it back for a second. You got to start with the offensive line. The Detroit Lions' offensive line is not a slouch. I think there's an argument to be made. They're one of the best offensive lines, especially in top 5 in the NFL. And in saying that, you have a running back who has what type of talent? If he's a top 10, top 15 talent, and you put him behind one of the best offensive lines, then I think all of a sudden you move him up even higher. I think you can make an argument, and I say this, I think you can make an argument to say not only do I think he has an opportunity to be Rookie of the Year, but I think he also has the opportunity and should be considered probably one of the top 10 running backs right now in the NFL, given the way he's running, given the way in which he's playing, the acceleration of his ability and his knowledge of learning how to compete and be competitive at this level, and his confidence. Will make him something, along with a line like this that's going to continue to grow and get better. He's going to be around for a while. He and Montgomery's going to be there for a while. This isn't. If you want to look at the offensive side of the ball and you want to say, hey, if I had to kind of hang my hat on what's going to be really stable here, the running game, I don't see that unless they disassemble that whole piece. I think they're going to have one of the best attacks in the NFL.
Yeah, and you speak of that offensive line, and you had some fantastic offensive lines in your career as well. Some great guys on that play, guys that are in the
Herman
Lions. Yeah, the Lions den. You got Lomas Brown, and we talk about Frank Ragnow and how important, how impactful he is for this Lions defense, or for this Lions offensive line. He was playing this game a week off of meniscus surgery. Like, how crazy is that? And like, are these offensive linemen just built different to be able to do something like that?
Big corn-fed mom, huh?
All I know is this, I think Lomas and a couple of guys who were the people we called down in the trenches back in the day, they played bandaged up. It wasn't taking time off, and, they wouldn't have been able to play if they had a torn meniscus or had some type of a knee injury. But, these guys are used to playing just the grit football every single down. That's why we call it the trenches. And then just to come back and be just that effective and come back from, significant injury. Players are built a little tougher in certain areas, certain positions. And you have to be because the body just starts to get acclimated to that. And that's why you see a lot of them these days and age, this day and age, when they're walking, it doesn't look that pretty. But they're the hogs, man. They're the ones that make everything go. You can talk about the skill position players, but we can't be that if we don't have the protection up front and we don't have the run blocking up front.
The heavyweights, as we say.
The heavies.
Here on this here program. Herman, what does it mean to an offense to have a tight end like Sam Laporta, that dependable guy to kind of just draw defenders down the box so you guys can do what you do up top? How's that help you guys out as wide receivers, just in the offense in general?
Well, Sam Laporta becomes that hybrid player that, he can block. He has a decent enough size to where he can be kept in on running plays and be effective on linebackers, even on the chip side of the end. But when you put him out and he matches up and he has the size and speed that he has against a linebacker, or he has that against a safety, it becomes a matchup problem for the defense. And when you can create that, that's what the game is all about. It's about creating matchup problems for your opponent. The Lions have been able to do that because you can't defend Sam Laporta, all the time with one guy. That means you draw another person out of the secondary. Now you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's hard to cover him one-on-one, especially when he's in the slot and he's in the shorter routes. You can't let Jameson Williams necessarily play one-on-one without a safety over the top because he gets behind guys. You've created a problem. Sam Laporta becomes a big piece of that. And then you continue, as I said before, I want you guys to really think about this. Even if St. Brown goes out, even if Laporta goes out, they'll bring in Josh Reynolds, they'll bring in Corey Raymond. They're bringing guys who have proven they can make things happen. They've come up with big plays. They've come up with plays at critical times, even when those other guys were being shut down. So you don't get an advantage. You just constantly get players coming after you. So now it comes down to, how is the play calling instrumented? How are they putting that together? How does Ben Johnson orchestrate that so that he can constantly and consistently add pressure? Well, you do it because you have talent. You have a talented offensive line. You have a talented backfield. You have a talented rotation of wide receivers in the passing game. And by the way, you got a tight end that can add to either one of those, and he's kind of the gap filler on both sides. It's just amazing to watch what they've been able to evolve into over the last 2 years.
Now I want to flip, sides of the ball and look at this defense a little bit because that defense played their asses off against the Broncos. They went out there and they made plays. Do you think that was a combination of, the Broncos offense not having the weapons as other teams that we've seen in the past, or those guys that got opportunities that didn't in the past few games, like Ife Melifonwu, like a Kendall Vinder, like a Khalil Dorsey, stepping up and making things happen while other guys had to take a step behind them?
It's a combination. I think there was a sense of urgency that happened with the defense. Defense, you look at the past few games, they struggle, and I don't think anyone's gonna deny that they struggle. I think they woke up and they realized that in order for them to move up the chart, in order to support what this offense was doing, the defense could not have off days. And when they have that, the offense just has to click all the time. There was a culmination of everything coming together at one time. There's a defense that I think there's some pressure. There's some pressure on Aaron Glenn. There's some pressure on players to go out and make plays that seem to have disappeared. That may be some of your ballers, right? They become the guys that the defense is looking for and say, hey, you got to make some plays. And eliminating those things, even though, they got after them early, it wasn't a straight put away that they had. I mean, they dominated early and they were ready to hold off on the end. But this is a team that I think that they're going to need the defense to play at a different caliber, even than what we saw against Denver. Denver isn't stacked at the skill positions when they face teams that have players who are going to be ranked in that top 10, top 5 category in those skill position areas. And then they have quarterbacks that are sitting there in just as high stature as a Jared Goff or higher. They're going to have to play at a different level than even what we saw against Denver.
Now, Herman, you went through some coaching changes. There's obviously speculations that Ben Johnson will go on to become a head coach of another organization. How does that work for the new guy coming in? Are they ever too proud to take wrinkles from a previous offense that worked really, really well? Or they always just want to change things up and do it their way?
I don't want to throw caution out there, but, you start changing over your offensive coordinator. It's not like the system itself stays behind. The players can stay behind. I've been there where you bring in coaches that have systems that can be close or similar. It's just the way the plays are dialed up. There's a sequence in which the plays are called. Offensive coordinators aren't just looking at a list and just randomly picking. It may seem like that sometimes when you look at some of these offenses that are predictable or that just seem like there's no rhyme or reason. But there's a formula to that offensive coordinator. There's a sauce that they have that makes it go, and then also how they apply the players to their play calling and to their system and how they're used. If it's done properly, you're an effective player, you're an effective coach, you're an effective offensive unit that requires teams to kind of figure out where they're going to pick their poison or how they're going to stop you or how they're going to limit you. But if you bring in someone who can break that system, it's going to be very critical if Ben Johnson leaves that they get someone who understands how the chemistry of this team has been built, how the culture has been built, and how the expectation of the players have come to be, because players have expectations of the system as well. So don't get it wrong. Some people will look at it and say, well, if a coordinator's there, is all about the coordinator. No, players, we're particular too. You know, there's things that we want. You know, you saw it with Barry, you know, bringing him out at the goal line. Coordinator brought him out. One coordinator wanted him in. You know, one coordinator wanted me running fade routes when we got into the end zone. Another one didn't. And so it limits the effectiveness of players. So I know how that could work. It's not just a given, whoever the next coordinator is that comes in, if Ben Johnson does exit.
Where are you at as a Lions fan? Are you kind of nervous about that transition for whoever it may be? I think it sounds like Tanner Strands is who they're grooming to take that position over.
You know, I'm not nervous as much as I think there's some technology, there are some things that give them a little bit of a jump start than perhaps they would have had back in our era. But I just think that it does create a little bit of a caution. And it's one of those things that you just can't write off next year and just say it's going to be this way because of a different player or a different coach that comes in and calls the plays. How much of that will Dan Campbell keep? How much of that will he continue to implement? I would imagine a lot of it would stay the same. But you know, every coordinator brings in their own twist.
And, you know, looking towards the playoffs, because I think the Lions are at a 99% chance to make the playoffs. There's only one situation they don't, and it's like an 11-team ridiculous thing to happen. So when you're looking at the teams that the Lions are potentially going to host in their playoff game at Ford Field, one of the teams that stands out is the Los Angeles Rams. And how much do you think that would mean for a Jared Goff to have the Rams come into town, the team that gave up on him, and the opposing quarterback being Matt Stafford? How much would that mean for this team to try to get the win over the Rams?
I mean, how do you draw this up? How does this even come to fruition? How does this even come about? That you may have Jared Goff, former Super Bowl quarterback, going against Matthew Stafford, who left to become Super Bowl quarterback. And now they're playing a game hosted at Ford Field. Really? Like, this is, I think it's going to be storylines. But ultimately, I'm telling you, this team, when it plays at home, plays at a different level. Every team plays differently at home. If we thought that Ford Field has been loud, we've heard it at its loudest. We've heard it on, you know, those national televised games. The last playoff game that I played in '91, where we hosted at the Silverdome, it's going to be at that level, and the noise level, and the anticipation and excitement is something that you haven't seen yet. And I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for this team, excited for what they've done. Kudos to them putting themselves in a position where there's so many scenarios for them to be in, and this is one that where you're going to get in the playoffs, you know, should happen, and now it's just a matter, can you win a division, will you host a home game, so on and so forth. Those are some great conversations to have with 3 games left in the season.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Not doing mock drafts anymore. I love that.
For real, man. Herm, I want to ask you, I guess, you know, I'm talking sports a little bit too, but like, going back in the day, I wasn't able to watch. How did you warm up with the game? I know guys are out there with their iPods now and stuff like that, but like, what was Herman more listening to? Like, what were you doing to get yourself into a game?
Oh, man. So I listened to a lot of Tupac. Let's see, I would do some jazz. Gosh.
Jazz
you know what I
hands.
used to listen to a lot? I used to listen to a lot was soundtracks, movie soundtracks. And a lot of it would be just those epic ones. Like it would just have to be something that was
Tarzan's got a great soundtrack.
No, man. It's just like I used to listen to, like I remember Crimson Tide. I used to listen to that. I used to listen to gosh, what was the other one? There was believe it or not, I know the one. This one is going to throw you. It wasn't a soundtrack. Sade.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's yeah.
You know, you bring the level down.
Yeah.
And do that, and then I would do that at warm ups. Like when I would go out for pregame, it would be like more like Sade, stuff like that. I think Kim, maybe. I make sure I got my years right. Maybe Kim. And then I would come back after that, and all of a sudden I'd throw on like the Tupac. I'd throw on just the G-Rap and be off and running. Now I'm running out there just angry. Just everything just ready to just blow up.
Man.
And that was it, man. That was my pregame. And most of the time I would just sit in my locker. I would just sit at my stool and just visualize making plays. I would visualize play calls. I would visualize the opponent. And I would visually and mentally walk through what I knew where the weakness is and how I was going to break this player down or this defense down. And just getting that kind of focus on, man, and you run through it over and over, the game becomes the real thing. You know, the hard part's done. The game is the easy. People don't understand that the game is the easy part. It is the practice and getting there that, you know, to make sure you're prepared is what's the tough part. So, taking me back, man, the Silverdome's just different. And coming through there is just a different environment. Ford Field's Ford Field. It's cool. It's beautiful. It's got, you know, some bells and whistles and stuff like that. But when you came out there, man, it felt like you were walking into an arena like a gladiator. Like
real.
And,
I couldn't imagine.
And when you walked in, man, the crowd was just crazy, and all kind of stuff was going on in the stands. It was like it was loose, right? You know, with the fights, with the yelling, with the weight, and then you drive up. It's not like here where you got, you know, the cool deck. You park at Ford Field, you walk across the bridge or whatever. No, man, you had to roll up into the gates like you do everybody else's stadium, and our fans be waiting for that bus. They be waiting for the other opponents to come through there, and then they're either cheering for us and letting us know, hey, we love you, or if you were an opponent, they were letting them know y'all about ready to get lit. Like it's about ready to be on,
man.
And so it's a different environment, man. It's different. It's cool. You know, I feel like I'm, you know, when I go to Ford Field, it's cool.
Hey, it means you guys got to turn up if you're listening. Yeah. Maybe fans can start pre-gaming some Tupac or Sade or something. Hit them up.
It's just you don't have enough of the space around it. You know, when you roll up in there, it's like, again, it's like you're coming to a nice place. It's got some nice little pockets and stuff, but it's
we
the
some ghetto ratchet
traditional
stuff.
Big parking lot where you just got just everything popping. It's not quite like that, but yeah, Ford Field is turning up right now, man, and then the fans are really starting to be about what Lions represent. So.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Herman, I appreciate you stepping on. I just put next time I see you stiff arm someone in the highlight, I'm gonna think you're listening to Tupac. Hit him up.
Hit him up.
Yeah. Around you, either way, man. I got my Catchman collection.
I'm gonna keep it clean on my mouth, right? I'm gonna keep it clean right now.
I had to stop myself too.
I definitely had the explicit version. I was rolling with this.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Grab your Glock if you see Tupac. Hey, man, tell us about these Catchman collection, Blake. It's some of the shirts. What we got going on this week, man?
Oh, yeah, man. So I'm starting next year, and even starting this year, man, you can start rolling out my Legends, rolling out my Catchman collection. I got it for all the sports, so I'm not just showing love to just the Lions. I'm showing it to all the Detroit sports, even some of our local colleges and stuff like that. But it's just representing, man, what we stand for sports. So my Catchman collection is something I've been working on to release. Just a lot of different, you know, the alter ego, but leaning into where you can rock your stuff at the any of the team games with their gear as well. It won't look out of place. But every day we win it. You know, I don't have to worry about whether it's wins or losses as a team. I rock my stuff because we win it every day. Catchman collection.
Let's go.
That's for the fans.
Yes, sir. Make sure you guys get it, and make sure you guys turn up like they used to in the Silverdome.
So we need those Silverdome fans. I want to see fights in the stands,
days,
man.
Yeah.
Yep.
I appreciate you so much.
Grab it when you're here, Tupac.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that, you know, that nice, you know, your new girl, whatever. But sometimes you just miss that old ratchet thing.
Miss the old ratchet thing for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to send you guys over. I'm gonna send you what my hit list is, like what I rock today, and you'll see it's still some of the old school.
Yes.
You'll see it's still some of my little DMX. It's still some of that. You know, I'm gonna send it over.
Please
to you.
do.
I'm gonna send you my top 10. I'm gonna just send 10 of them, and then you can post them for me.
Please
We'll
do.
play it before our show. Get hype before we go on the show.
Yeah, because Chris actually, our technical director, he has like a hip hop podcast.
Yes, sir.
So you know what? For sure, sing that over because I know he would love that more than anybody.
I just found out yesterday. I share a birthday with DMX.
Oh.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Shout out DMX.
Shout out
Did you see his
DMX.
documentary? Did you see his documentary he had on Netflix?
No,
not
I didn't know he
yet.
had
I think
one.
it was Netflix. He had it. Yeah, there was
Well,
one
I
that
know
was
what I'm
on there,
doing
man,
today.
recently. Yeah, it was pretty nice, man. Just seeing just kind of his whole rise. He talked about how he rolled out to Baltimore he went down there to show him how they hit, up in New York, how he brought that down there. So it's a little bit deeper, man, story than just what we saw there.
I'm gonna have to watch that one.
That's awesome.
I was listening to him on the Breakfast Club. He was talking about like when his rap beefs. He's like, you used to go back in the day, you get him in the elevator.
Yeah.
He's like, nowadays the cameras everywhere. You can't do none of that. He's like, that's why I stopped the game.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's about that life, man.
Yeah, man. Herman, I appreciate you joining us, man. Make sure you guys head over to hermanlow.com and see you next week, man.
Thanks so much, Herman.
All right, appreciate it. Always. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.